Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our May 11th, 2021 Board of Commissioners meeting. Please stand and join me for the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Our first item is to approve the agenda. Is there any additions or corrections, Bob?
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
Langhammer moves the agenda.
People seconds.
Got a motion and a second for the agenda. Any discussion? Stephanie, will you do the roll call, please?
Commissioner Pat?
Aye.
Commissioner Pipo?
Aye.
Just a moment, I guess we're on mute.
Okay, we'll start over. Commissioner Pat?
Aye.
Commissioner Pipo?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Sternberg?
Aye.
Chair Brunder?
Aye. Motion carries. Our first item to discuss this morning is our community corrections with John, Community Corrections Director. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, John.
Morning, John.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Yes. I go a year without coming, and then I'm here twice in a row. So, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I have two items for you guys today. I believe the first one that we have this morning is the Sentence to Service Joint Powers Agreement with the Department of Corrections. This is, something that we signed with the state of Minnesota, so we have a contract with them that they reimburse us for a portion of the wages and work that we do for Sentence to Service. As we're all aware, things really got shut down with COVID, but slowly have been building back up. But the Sentence to Service crew has been working with facilities and with the parks. Really, for Sentence to Service, what we've been doing has been much more active. We started taking clients again back in August, but really ramping back up again here since the beginning of 2021. So, just to give you a couple statistics, so in 2019 we did complete 7,634 hours. That obviously significantly decreased in 2020. We were down to about 2,500 hours, but started building back up again in that fourth quarter as we were able to start slowly adding people back to our crew again. And I'm happy to report for first quarter of 2021, we did 780 hours. And as we kind of, just with everything else, we're slowly adding people and trying to do more and more and add clients wherever we can. So continuing to work with those nonprofits in the community and just finding various projects, and we have some very consistent work that we do as well. But this is something that we've had in place for a while. The agreement is for the total amount of $50,807.78 for fiscal years 2022 and 2023. So you can see a slight increase in 2023. So I'm just respectfully requesting approval of that contract.
Sternberg moved to approve.
Thank you, Vance. Do you have a second?
People seconds.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, John, for that report. Is there any discussion, questions, or comments?
So how exactly does Sentence to Serve work? I mean, how do you pick the personnel to work for you?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? If you could explain to me.
Yeah, so everybody on crew is court ordered by the court. Sometimes built into the sentencing order or plea agreement, there'll be a defined amount of hours that somebody has to complete, or it could be a recommendation from a probation officer as a sanction for non-compliance for somebody that's already on supervision to us. And so we have clients obviously court ordered to complete this obligation, and then within the office we've got a structure built where we've got a calendar that is maintained by Eric with his days of the week that he's working and the sites that he's going to be working at. And right now we also kind of include, okay, how many people can Eric take? What are we comfortable with having on crew right now as well? And then the agents themselves or our support staff or Eric, actually while he's out on crew working with people, will schedule people for upcoming days. We try to focus our crew on the medium and higher high-risk clients. We don't want to send out all low-risk people or mix low-risk people with high-risk people. You can inherently increase somebody's risk by mixing a low-risk person with a high-risk person. So we try to focus on the mediums and the highs for our crew. But sometimes you do have somebody that's ordered to do crew that may not exactly fit that description, and that's fine. But our primary focus are those mediums and highs. And then Eric, obviously has his scheduled pickup locations. Actually, he just moved his pickup location downtown because most of our clients are downtown and in that area. And so we just thought it would be more advantageous for us to have a centralized location for picking up. And actually, one of the things that's been that's really been nice is really with a smaller crew trying to figure out some of those things. We've been looking for ways to improve, and so that was one of the things that we kind of found along the way is like maybe we need to try this pickup location switch and see how that goes. So meets people down here, picks them up, takes them to a site, and just depends on the day of the week. I actually had a call yesterday from another nonprofit in our community. Backpack food program had reached out and inquired as to the availability of the crew for the summer to help them out. So you find those niches and those groups that are looking for help as well, and that's just another way that we're able to partner with community members and work together. So.
And this is basically instead of spending days in jail, they're working out.
In lieu of jail, and also it's an opportunity for some people to work off their fine. They can work off their fine by completing sentence to service as well. So we can do both there. Absolutely.
Great. It's a great program. I know I've worked with Sentence to Serve back, even back when I wore my uniform.
Yeah.
So it's a great program. But I'm sure a lot of people, especially if they're online, don't understand how it works, and that's why I thought I'd ask you for that.
And it's even small things sometimes like helping a client from the adult mental health side with human services move. We really have built up those collaborative relationships where, they'll reach out to Eric and say, we have a client that we're trying to move from one assisted living facility to another. Can you give us a hand? And that might be just a 4-hour job, a half day, and then Eric goes and works, at another site for the rest of the day. But that's the collaboration. That's what the crew can do. And I think that's what's really good about it is, Backpack Food Program got my information from a school social worker from Mankato West. And so she called me yesterday and left me a message and asked some questions, and so I'm going to connect with her, helping somebody move. I mean, those are the relationships that I think are really important for us to have. And so, yeah, it is an important program that we do operate.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Okay, I got a motion and a second to approve the sentence to serve JPA. If there's no further discussion, Stephanie, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Pap,
Aye.
Commissioner People,
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer,
Aye.
Commissioner Strumberg,
Aye.
Chair Brunder.
Aye, motion carries.
Okay.
Got one more item then, John?
Yes, I do. One more item for you this morning. This is the Remote Electronic Alcohol Monitoring, or REAM grant amendment in agreement with the Department of Corrections. So this is another agreement with the state of Minnesota and the Department of Corrections. This grant actually started in 2019, and this is just an extension of the previous agreement that we had in place. So this is an extension for an additional 2 years. So this is $15,000 for each year, fiscal years 2022 and 2023, the total amount being $30,000. So just to give you a little, overview of this program. So this is a program that provides financial assistance for DWI offenders in the community to receive financial assistance for electronic alcohol monitoring expenses. And so we have a program. It's required by statute. Some offenses that rise to the level that require alcohol monitoring either as a condition of their release, so pre-sentence, or also can be financial assistance given to somebody that is post-sentence. And so they've been ordered to complete alcohol monitoring as a condition of their sentence, but they may not be able to afford it. And so we developed a sliding fee scale that does set people up with a daily rate that they would have to pay in order to be on alcohol monitoring. So on average, you would have alcohol monitoring cost around $15 a day. But by going through the grant application, you can reduce the amount that the client has to pay all the way down to as little as $2 per day. So it depends on their income, and we take all that information in, we review their grant application, and then we make a determination for where they fit as far as receiving financial assistance through the grant. Not everybody meets that criteria. Some people do not, but we've been able to assist 58 total clients in the first 2 years for a total of over 2,700 days that we helped them with. So we were able to provide them that assistance. And you can see in this grant, the original grant amount was also for $30,000, but there are some counties that do not use all of their funds, so we can reach back out to the Department of Corrections and ask for any additional leftover funds that may be available towards the end of each year, and so that's where you can see an additional $2,000, I believe it was, for each year that we were provided, an additional $4,000 total. And we would take that same approach again, if the opportunity presents itself. But this has been a really good program for us to be able to provide that financial assistance to our clients that may not be able to afford some of those expensive costs. $15 a day can become fairly expensive if you're looking to have somebody on the alcohol monitor for 30 days, 60 days sometimes. There are some people that have an annual requirement to do alcohol monitoring every year that they're on probation for 60 days. And so this is a way for us to provide those clients with some financial assistance so they can do their alcohol monitoring.
Pat moves.
Landcamer seconds.
Okay, thank you for the motion and the second. Any discussion on the remote electronic alcohol monitoring?
Just a comment. Sunday in the Trib, there was a big article on how court fines, sentences really weigh extremely heavily on the poor. I don't know if anybody saw that, but
No.
I've got it.
Yeah.
I brought it.
You saw it as well?
Yeah. I've got it in the office.
Yeah.
You brought it, I didn't bring it.
Yeah.
I did. I just think it's something to think about.
Yeah.
And I'm glad this can help people because $15 a day for an extended period of time is
Yes.
a lot of money. And especially when you're in trouble in the first place. So I just think it's something to think
Yeah.
about and talk about. I know I called the chief public defender because I always thought a public defender was free. Because that's what it says. I mean, you will be afforded a public defender at no cost to you. That's not true. And there's a $79 fee for a public defender, but the courts can waive that, or they can add to it. And as I understand it, it's very seldom waived in this county. And sometimes added. So I'm concerned about that because that downward spiral where you don't have much money anyway, and then it costs you more and more. And nobody should be doing crimes. We get that, but you sometimes wonder if you're not pushing people into bigger problems.
Well, and you want people to focus on the things that we want them to do to make themselves better, paying for a chemical dependency assessment or their educational programming or their treatment programming. Those are things that, we want to, this is important stuff, but those are important things as well. And so, in our work, when somebody comes down with a sentencing order, there are a lot of those unforeseen expenses that we're trying to explain to people. So having a program that can, help provide them with, some financial assistance and offering STS to help them, pay off their fine also. That's another thing that we try to do to help people that can't afford some of these things. So yes, you have to try to, develop and implement programs that can help people that are unable to pay for some of these things just on their own. So, and with this, we have the sliding fee scale. So we can take a look at somebody's income and make a determination that you could pay 2, you could pay 8, you could pay 12. But Robin really oversees this grant, takes a look at people's finances or their income and then makes a determination where they fit on the sliding fee scale. So it's been a good thing for us to have that.
I think it's a really positive thing. I'm sure that on these two things that we've just passed or will pass, that it doesn't anywhere, the state money doesn't anywhere cover it, but it's a step in the right direction.
It helps.
Yeah.
You're right.
All right, other discussion? I got a motion and a second for the remote electronic alcohol monitoring grant. There's no further discussion. I'll ask Stephanie to call the roll.
Commissioner Pap,
Aye.
Commissioner Pepo,
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer,
Aye.
Commissioner Strumberg,
Aye.
Chair Brunder.
Aye. Motion carries. That's all you have for us today, John?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'll
John.
scan it. I'll have somebody scan it and get it up to
Yeah,
you.
that'd be great.
I thought it was a good article.
Yeah.
Okay.
You sent it?
Okay, then I don't have to.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
All right, we'll move on to Public Works. Morning, Ryan.
Morning, Ryan.
Ryan?
Can you go anywhere in this town?
Can I?
No, me.
No.
Yeah, some of us on the west side have a
Oh,
problem.
Can't get
well,
there.
I can't say I didn't warn you.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, who approved all this stuff?
I did turn in time.
At least we know that we're getting there, you know, good roads when we're done with, so.
Two more closures to go yet, so we still have Eagle Lake will be next week, and then eventually County Road 1 south of town, so.
Yeah, so you're gonna, yeah.
It's our favorite season, road construction.
Yes. Well, good morning, Ryan.
Good morning.
Yeah.
All right, well, I've got a shorter agenda today than I did last month. Just 2 action items. The first is consideration of a Minnesota Department of Transportation limited use permit number 0702-0011 for trail along County Road 57 and Highway 14 right-of-way. This is for the trail that we've always had, but this is kind of a newer MnDOT policy to require these limited use permits for local agency owned and operated facility in their right-of-way. So I would recommend approval of that permit.
I'll move approval, Landcamer.
Thank you, Clem.
Stuber, second.
Thank you, Vance. Any discussion on this permit? Seeing none, Stephanie, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Pap,
Aye.
Commissioner Pepo,
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer,
Aye.
Commissioner Strumberg,
Aye.
Chair Brunder.
Aye. Motion carries for the MnDOT permit number 07020011.
All right, thank you. And as is our typical process with MnDOT agreements, there's also a resolution to authorizing the county agents to enter into the limited use permit that is appended to your packet.
I'll move approval, Landcamer.
Pepo, second.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion? Questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll have Stephanie call the roll for the resolution.
Commissioner Pap,
Aye.
Commissioner Pepo,
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer,
Aye.
Commissioner Strumberg,
Aye.
Chair Brunder.
Aye. Motion carries for the limited use permit.
All right. Moving into just some information items for the board. For project updates, County Road 41 bridge replacement. The bridge railing, deck, and approach panels have all been completed. We're anticipating the grading crew will be moving in second half of this week to begin the transition of moving connecting the new bridge to the old road. As you remember, we had a pretty short window that was permitted for them to make that connection, and then after that's completed, we're anticipating they'll probably close the road early next week. We'll get a press release out when we get an official date from the contractor. And then they'll begin the connection of the road over a short period of time and begin removing the old bridge after that. So we're getting close to having that done here in June.
It looks really nice. I drove out there 2-3 weeks ago, and it's going to be a huge improvement.
Absolutely. Much wider bridge and obviously not structurally deficient like the existing one where the bottom of the steel beams are pretty severely corroded and losing section. County Road 16 trail from Stadium Road to Pleasant Street. The rough grading is completed and the gravel base has been placed. The contractor is working on the concrete pedestrian ramps this week, paving and final lights and turf and things like that will be coming in the following weeks. So it's moving along well.
Looks really good.
Yeah, I'm excited to get that one.
What's the time frame on that? I don't remember.
That was a mid-June completion as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. CASA 27 reconstruction from Highway 14 to 2. Great River Energy has effectively relocated all of their poles. There may be one more that needs adjustment, but that's out of the way. The contractor's working on centerline pipe crossings for culverts and private drainage tiles. They've completed some of the other Drainage work, they're stripping topsoil, working from south to north, so we'll see some dirt moving more here in the coming weeks. So they're out there working, and it certainly looks like a construction project. We are still getting a lot of people trying to sneak through there, and kind of understandable given everything going on with Highway 60 and close proximity, but people are settling into an alternate route a little bit better than they were the first week or two, so that's good to see. Eagle Lake reconstruction from Thomas to Larae. A press release has been issued letting people know that we are closing that on Monday to begin work. So lots going on. The official detour will go via Minnesota Highway 83 to County Road 86 and then back to town on 17 for the official, because there will be periods of time that we have to get into Thomas Drive to reconnect the existing water main and sewer connections. And so while that's dug up, obviously we're going to have a better detour, and we want to try to get people on that route and not cutting through town, going through those residential areas, although we know a lot of that's going to happen regardless. County State Aid Highway 57, the roundabouts at US Highway 14, the road was closed May 3rd, and the contractor's working on removing all of the pavement, curb and gutter, medians, etc. So good to see that one moving forward as well. And then Victory Drive, CASA 82, from Stadium to Hoffman, the road was closed yesterday, and the contractor is going to begin pavement removals this week. And then there's also gas relocations taking place with CenterPoint Energy, so that we were able to minimize. They had requested to do lane closures and constrict things weeks ago. We told them they had to wait until the road was closed and then do it at that point in time. So we're trying to minimize disruption to traffic to the extent practical.
So you'll dig once.
What's that?
It's digging once as opposed to many times.
Yeah, and try to avoid extra traffic control and constrictions and delays for people. County State Aid Highway 1 from 9 to 90. We're going to be opening bids next Wednesday, the 19th, and then I'll be bringing those as a single item to the county board during your May 25th meeting for consideration. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. That's a very big bid. Obviously, as that project has been delayed over years and we've had to make some changes, we've seen our cost scope grow, but that is also due to inflation and construction prices. We're hoping that the fact that that's a 2-year project will give the contractors some ease, knowing that they maybe can make it fit into their schedules a little bit better. We anticipate probably the lion's share of the road construction will be done next year. Tree removals and the soil nail retaining walls would be, I think, the primary focus this year, but we'll see what their schedule and what their crew availability is this year. So that'll be a big one. That may likely be the biggest road construction contract the county will have ever led. So
Again, that's shutting down then?
we don't know for sure yet. It would be, sometime I would anticipate early June. Our Bituminous Overlays, Minnesota Paving Materials is working on County State Highway 13. They're kind of working around Excel's transmission pole stringing for the Huntley-Wilmarth line. Unfortunately, there's about a 3-mile stretch that we're overlaying, and they're stringing power lines on concurrently, so we're actually holding off on overlaying that piece until they're done. So if they mar the surface of the road, we can go put a new surface that we were going to do anyway. They've got County Road 125 and 129 done and have yet to do 1, 10, 40, and 63. So those are progressing. We have those 4 bridges that are funded for replacement, or at least partially funded, if not fully, on CASA 7, CASA 40, County Roads 151 and 169. CASA 7, we're updating the bridge plans and had hoped to be farther along, but the state and the consultants are not, they're very busy, I guess I probably should say. And so we're trying to get the bridge plans updated because the specifications have changed. Some of the design requirements have changed, so they've had to go in and tweak parts of the plan from those sitting on the shelf waiting for funding for so long. So that one, we're still hoping to get that out this year, but we are mulling CASA 7. Perhaps doing that next year while we are already disrupting access to the south side of Mapleton. So perhaps it would make more sense to put a larger, longer detour on and hit both of those projects at the same time instead of one this year and one next year. So we're contemplating that right now. We would still like to do County Road 151, begin it this fall, maybe wrap it up through the course of the winter, or leave it closed through the winter and touch it up in the spring, because it's a very short detour via Highway 30. And then the other bridges we're looking at 2022 for construction, just because of staff availability is very limited right now. County Stated Highway 7 in Mapleton, the design is progressing well for 2022 construction season. We've settled on a 40-foot typical section that'll be used for an urban 3-lane, and that'll include a 10-foot trail on the east side. So there won't be really any speakable shoulders on the road. It'll be a continuous or dedicated left turn lane depending on the use of it, and then through driving lanes. But we are trying to keep the road relatively tight to try to reduce speed as it's coming in from the south from a 55-mile-an-hour rural design and transitioning to an urban design with the city's school intersection there, and anticipating some pedestrian traffic obviously at the north end at Borkert. So we're hoping the curb and gutter and a little bit tighter lanes will help slow people down as they come into the south side of town. And then 10 and 72 is still really primarily in the city's hands. They're working on design aspects of bringing that project together, and we'll be having some follow-up coordination with them as they're developing the plans. But as you may recall, the one block of 72, actually 3 blocks of 72, and then the stretch of 10 through Vernon Center is really a smaller part of a larger subset for the city of Vernon Center's construction, and they have almost a third or half of town is being disrupted with new utilities and new streets, so a pretty massive project. So we're going to let the city take the lead on that and tuck our projects in underneath it, and we'll be working with the city and their consultant engineer on that project. Last but not least, Rapidan Dam, an update. A conference call was held between Blue Earth County, Bar Engineering, Eagle Creek, Renewable Energy, and Alpine Pacific on April 28th. We did have 2 county commissioners on the call, as well as some county staff. And with that, we provided updates on the removal and repair feasibility studies, where we're at with that process. We did request documents for study consideration. We talked through non-disclosure agreement, which has been a problem because all of the infrastructure information that Eagle Creek has, nearly all of it is labeled critical energy infrastructure, and we then have struggles sharing that if we get it, to share it with our consultant and to portray information from those documents into our documents that then become public information. So we did talk through that, and I was able to work through, after we had that discussion, revisit that after we talked about it previously, and we made much more traction. We signed a modified non-disclosure agreement where there was some language change so that they understood that we are going to include elements of those reports as public information documents, but we'll be cautious what we disclose. So we worked through that. Eagle Creek is going to continue to monitor and manage the spillway. Really not a lot associated with that because the gates are open. I don't even know they're operable to bring them down if we'd want to. So they are doing the minimal work for the FERC coordination and reporting, etc. They're looking into the dive inspections that are required annually and trying to see when they have those scheduled. They are also moving forward with updating their Part 12 and the potential failure mode analysis studies, which you may recall are about on a 5-year cycle for the dam. So we have a meeting this week. I have the PFMA brainstorming session, and then we have a Part 12 inspection and a follow-up PFMA meeting. So if any commissioners that are interested in sitting on those riveting meetings, I'd be more than happy to invite you to them, but I'm going to be respectful of your time as well. So with that, they are also going to provide some additional information on the monitoring that they have been doing at the dam. That's been included a alignment survey to ensure that the dam's not moving at all. And then in one of the bays, they also had some crack gauges installed to monitor crack growth, but those gauges were installed just in 2020, so they really don't have the definitive data set yet for us to look at. But they are keeping an eye on that while we make this transition away from their ownership and operation of the dam, and as we decide what the future is for the county. So that's really all I have. As far as my updates, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Ryan? Busy agenda, a lot of projects.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yep. It's evident we're busy already.
Yep, it's tumbleweeds in the office right now. There are not many people left in engineering to be in the office, so there's about 2 or 3 regularly, and that's it. And everybody else is already out in the field. We've got an intern on board to help us just keep eyes on things, a civil engineering graduate student that was still looking for employment, so at least getting him some relevant experience. And then we're still having to utilize consultant assistance with surveying on a couple of projects and construction inspection in Eagle Lake. So.
And you got a brand new staff in your office?
Yes, we do. We have a brand new parks accountant clerical position, Mindy Shulo. So she started last Thursday, so she's got a lot to take in, a lot of information, and a lot of things going on with our parks department. And you know, the timing is tough with respect to that, because the stuff's kind of all hitting the fan right now with camping and people using the parks, but it's going to be trial by fire, and she'll learn quickly, I'm confident. We are also conducting second round interviews today for our highway accountant. Pam gave us her notice that she's going to be leaving us to retire, so we wish her the best. And it'll be a big void. It is a supervisory position that's very specialized because of the state aid and cost accounting requirements with that position. So we're interviewing folks today, and there will be some learning associated with that as well. So lots of change in public works.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's it for a while.
Yeah.
All right. If there's no questions for Ryan, thank you for the report, Ryan.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks,
Be safe
Ryan.
Thanks,
out there.
Ryan.
Thank you very much.
You too.
All right, we'll move on to County Attorney's report. Mr. McDermott, thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I'll answer any questions if you have any particulars with respect to the reports. I just provide you with some general information. Sent you an email this morning with some attachments regarding an ongoing matter that I know you're all familiar with. I won't get into details here. We continue. I sent you that email, I believe, a little bit over a week ago regarding the number of homicide cases open in our office and resource issues. We do seem to have what are referred to by statute as the serious felonies have been increasing quite a bit, especially in the last 4 or 5 months. We've seen a number of crim sex cases. The Child and Family Advocacy Center has been very busy comparatively. Now that we see that things are opening back up, you know, some of the more, you know, if you've been listening to the media and whatnot, the state patrol and the state's talking about speeding and how much speeding is impacting things. You know, we have some of our potentially petty crimes are down, but it just seems like more and more of the serious crimes are up, and that would include the serious felonies. And we have been working pretty steadily on resolving the backlog of cases, and in particular trials. The judges were very pleased that courts are able to use the big conference room as a second jury assembly room, so we can have 2 jury trials at once instead of just 1. So that's been working out very well. So, and they're thankful for that. If anybody has any questions, concerns, or comments, I'd be more than happy to entertain anything.
Any questions for Pat?
I was on the TZD call this last week, and State Patrols gave the numbers for speed over 100 miles an hour. And between 2019 and 2020, in 2020 there were double the amount of cars that were ticketed for over 100 miles an hour. High one was 153 miles an hour. Can you imagine?
Well, it wasn't my convertible.
But yeah, it's interesting why people have felt that they can come out and drive recklessly and carelessly because of COVID. I don't understand.
Somebody said that part of that is because there were so fewer people on the roads.
Right.
That doesn't excuse it by any means, but
You know, and then Commissioner, you just reminded me in the area of the fentanyl and the opioids, because this is across the county. It takes and into account a lot of resources. We just received a report last week that the numbers are on the increase, at least 27% statewide. And I know in our area in particular, we were fortunate for a number of times, but you know, there's at least 2, if not 3, ongoing investigations regarding overdose deaths that the Drug Task Force is working on, and just because those cut across everything through human services, public safety, and everything else. So it's just another area that seems to be booming, so to speak. But with that, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
All right, with that, we'll move down to some administrative items to deal with today. Bob?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the first item is the county board minutes for April 27th.
I'll move the minutes. Langhammer.
Seconds.
Got a first and a second for the minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Stephanie, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Pat?
Aye.
Commissioner Pippo?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Strumberg?
Aye.
Chair Brunder?
Aye. Motion carries for the minutes.
Next are the bills for the 2 weeks indicated.
Stuenberg moves the bills.
Do I have a second?
Langhammer seconds.
Thank you. Any discussion on the bills that haven't been answered already? Seeing none, Stephanie, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Pat?
Aye.
Commissioner Pippo?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Strumberg?
Aye.
Chair Brunder?
Aye. Motion carries to pay the bills. Human Resources.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 6 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. We do have one action item for the board today, and that is approval of the Larae County salary adjustment procedures, revision to that policy that's been in place for a number of years. We reviewed this policy revision at the last board work session. And basically, the gist of this is to help with our retention efforts relative to promotions. We've historically provided a minimum of a 1% increase for promotional opportunities. This policy revision would change that to a 5% minimum. We have heard from staff periodically over the years that in some instances, the amount of increase isn't much of a motivator. And so given the tightening of the labor market and the desire to continue to create opportunities for our existing staff to move within our organization in ways that are beneficial, when administration and HR reviewed that policy, felt that a 5% minimum increase would be beneficial to the organization. So bringing that forward for the board's consideration today.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the salary adjustment procedures?
People moves.
Thank you, Mark. Do I have a second?
Langhammer seconds.
Thank you, Colleen. Any other discussion? This was already mentioned. I thought we had good discussion at the work session. And this policy makes a lot of sense to me. So, any other comments before we vote? Seeing none, I got a motion and a second for the salary adjustment procedures. Stephanie, you call the roll.
Commissioner Pat?
Aye.
Commissioner Pippo?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Strumberg?
Aye.
Chair Brunder?
Aye. Motion carries.
In terms of informational items, then, we have a number of positions that have been filled, starting with the Human Resources Technician. Erin Fegler has returned to the county. We're happy about that, so our training will be lessened with her return. We also filled a Clerical Specialist position, as was mentioned previously, in our Parks and Public Works area. We also filled a Clerical Specialist position in the Sheriff's Department. We also filled a correctional officer, a part-time position with a former deputy, so it's nice to see Mr. Kuzi return. And then did fill a deputy sheriff position. We also had a couple of promotions, one from a taxpayer services specialist to an assessment specialist in our property and environmental resources department. And then a promotion of a library clerk part-time to a librarian part-time down at the library, obviously. And then lastly, or the last couple items, we had a resignation of a program coordinator in our disease prevention and control area, so that's a loss to us, and then a retirement in our probation department.
Any
Happy to
questions?
answer any questions the board might have on any of those items.
A lot of activity. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 7 in your packet then is a list of donations for the first quarter of 2021. You'll see that we received cash donations, all for the library, over $8,300, the largest being from the Glenn Taylor Foundation for our summer reading program, so we appreciate the support to that program. We also had a number of in-kind products or other donations, mostly again to the library system, although there was $100 from Harbor Freight to the Sheriff's Office. And so we asked the board to accept these donations today.
Langhammer moves approval.
Thank you,
Cap
Colleen.
seconds.
Thank you, Kevin. I have a first and a second. Any discussion on the donations? If there's no discussion, Stephanie, you call the roll for the donations?
Commissioner Pap,
Aye.
Commissioner Peepo,
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturenberg,
Aye.
Chair Brunder.
Aye. Motion carries.
We
Item
really
number 8
appreciate
in the
these.
pack.
Yes. Yeah, the donations are very nice.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Item number 8 in your packet then is the financial status report for April 30th. We're a third of the way through our fiscal year, and you'll see our total revenues are $18.5 million against expenditures of $30.7 million. Obviously, with the first half property tax collections, that'll close that gap significantly here in the month of May. But in terms of other kind of notable items on this list, the transportation sales tax revenue, you'll see it's up about 4% over the same period last year, and actually quite a bit over our budget projection. We did lower our budget projection for the 21 budget, not knowing what the economic impact of the pandemic was going to be, but that sales tax in particular has remained strong even through the pandemic, and so we know we'll are very likely to end the year ahead of what we have budgeted in that particular line item. The interest on investments, the next line down, you'll see that we're actually kind of in a negative position there. That's a value change on our investments as the market has kind of been moving around with the pandemic and different issues there. So hopefully that will turn around. On the expenditure side, the contracts and fees line is up a little bit from previous years, but still well within our budget target. Again, some of that is the early start to spring and trying to get ahead of some of our overlay projects and different things in the public works area. On the enterprise fund, you'll see there the total revenues are a little over $1 million against expenses of $700,000. So we're performing well out at the Ponderosa landfill without any kind of cell development or major capital purchases. We look to be in a good position at this point. We are moving ahead with a large piece of equipment, so that could change in the next report. On the second page, you see our cash and investment balances. We're kind of at the low point in the year there, so you'll see towards the top of that report the total available funds of $48.2 million against a 6-month operating needs of $55 million. But when you bring in all of our dedicated funds and fiduciary funds, we sit at about $125 million in reserves, and so continue to be in a strong position there. Be happy to answer any questions the board might have on the financial status report.
Any questions for Bob?
It's really not a question, it's just a comment. I have my taxes automatically taken out of my checking account. And so a week before, I get an email saying, by the way, we're going to take your taxes out. I really appreciate that. And I just think it's, for me, very helpful, and I would assume for many other people. I know it's too late for people to apply for that this year, or this time, but maybe they'll think about it in the future.
Sure. That's a good program.
It is. It's a really nice program.
Between that and the escrows.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments? I really like this report, and I appreciate that you bring it to us every month, Bob. It's an easy way to see what we have going on with the magnitude of everything, so I appreciate that. If there's no other business other than reports on my list, do you have anything else, Bob?
I do not, Mr. Chair.
Okay, well, we'll do our committee reports. We're going to start with Kevin today.
Well, Mr. Chair, my report's pretty skinny since our April 27th board meeting. Of course, the work session, board lunch, after board meeting, participated with Commissioner Brunder at the Soil Water Conservation District meeting on May 6th. We've already heard about the Rapidan Dam meeting. And for upcoming events, my next new commissioner training will be on May 19th. And the corn and beans are planted and the corn's starting to come up.
Good for you.
That's my report.
Good for you. Mark?
So yeah, after the work session, then on the 27th, the 28th, I just was invited to the Rotary service above South, and the connections people with, the churches with feeding our community. They got the award, and then Colonel Tom Hallett with veterans, working with veterans, in turn, with funerals and all too. They were the recipients, so that was always good. And I hadn't been to one of them for a while. Then I had May 3rd, did have Simrick's early meeting. They call it emergency. It was dealt more with those counties that were doing a joint on sanitation. I don't want to call it always garbage, but they're dealing with the Pollution Control Agency, and we've already got our landfills. They're doing it, trying to get joint ones, and they got money, and they're trying to work that because Control Agency only gave them half, so they voted to then not take it because they didn't work for them. So anyway, so some of us, there's like 3 counties, we just kind of watched it because we already had it. We don't have to worry about it. Then had on Kip and I, we had RCF on May 6th, and then later I had the Maple, our policy meeting. That was rather short, but then that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Clean.
Mine's pretty brief, too. On the 28th, I had a call with Tina May, who's the Vice President of Land O'Lakes, and Bernadine Jocelyn from Landon on broadband. Land O'Lakes has opened up their broadband, their Wi-Fi across their offices to people to drive up and do whatever they need to do, like we're doing at the library. I think we're going to see more of that, and the importance of broadband. And with the American Rescue Act, there's a lot of discussion about broadband. And as I've said before, it's extremely expensive, but something that we really need. So there was a lot of discussion about should it be a utility, that type of stuff. Just trying to figure out how to move broadband throughout the country. That day I also had a call with Nancy Goodwin regarding the U.S. Bank and Amboy. On the 29th, NACO had a session on the American Rescue Plan. And yesterday, they Treasury came out with some of their rules and regs. The 30th, Josh and Bob and I had a call on federal funding opportunities for renewable energy and solar and that type of thing. On the 3rd, I had Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs from NACO. Discussion on elections, ARP, census data. Supposedly, the census data, the granular data, has been extended out to September 30th of 21, which could create huge problems for us as we redistrict. And on the 5th, I had the AMC coffee, Vance and I were on, and then Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership talking about among many of the projects, but also where they're going to move to. So that's all I have.
Good. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you.
Vance?
All right, well, a lot of the same, everybody. I had, obviously, the work session following the last board meeting. On the 28th, Commissioner Papp and I were on the call for the Rapidan Dam. Like it was said, it's interesting to see what's going to happen there. I have a feeling we're going to have some pretty serious meetings, when this comes to be. I mean, to find out what we should actually do with the Rapidan Dam. Go on to May 4th, I had my NACO membership meeting. As Commissioner, as Colleen said, we had our coffee, AMC coffee, on the 5th. On the 6th, I started out with a federal funding jobs plan Zoom. Then I had a Towards Zero Death meeting, and then that evening at 4:30, NACO had a trivia networking night.
I'm bad at trivia. I chose not to do it.
We actually, this was for the Central and Upper Midwest regions, okay? There were enough Minnesota people on the call that we had 2 teams. And I have to tell you that our team won.
Good for you.
So, I don't know, there was about 8 teams, I suppose, in total, so. But it was fun, and it's a networking issue, and it's one of those things is, we're just not getting that because we're not doing these personalized, meetings, and it's nice to be able to talk to other people. Saturday morning on the 8th, I spent some time at the community farm. My wife and I volunteered out there, and amazing what 1 week will do. I mean, they have it dug up. I'd welcome everybody to go out there and take a look at it. It's not what you expect. I mean, it's really turning into a garden.
Good.
And
That's great.
I'm pretty impressed with our new manager out there, and it's going to be a real plus for the county. Monday, yesterday, I had my detox board meeting. We were talking about fixing up the building. That conversation's been going on for quite a while, long before I was on there, and but it's going to be a big project when they finally get done. Otherwise, things are going well. Obviously, Blue Earth County is well liked there because we send most of the patients to the detox board, to the detox. Other than that, that's all I have here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vance. The work session, a lot of the items that we discussed at that were approved last meeting or so here. Had a Blue Earth County and joint ditch meeting with LeSueur County, Ditch 15, just some project we have going on over there. Had my SECB, my State Emergency Communication Board meeting, the ledge meeting portion of it, and we are just working on some stuff actually for the next session. We're done with this, so we got some projects we're working on through the summer to try to have the stuff rewritten for next session. Mark mentioned RCEF, and things are going pretty well there. We are trying to get Brian into a work session to visit with us, so we'll be seeing him in the future. Kevin mentioned the SWCD. They got a lot of projects, had a great tree sale program. They said that with the internet and, COVID, it actually, did they say it, the tree sales spiked and they didn't have any extra this year sometime.
First time ever.
First time ever.
Wow.
So people are being active in that for whatever reason. So it was good to hear. At our MRCI executive meeting yesterday, heard from Brian. As you all know, the thrift store is closed, and they'll be listing those 2 buildings because we actually own the other building next to it that has some renters in it, but those 2 buildings are up for sale. They are in the process of trying to get more employees. They need lots of help now. We're trying to get everybody back up and running. The model is going to look totally different. Instead of having a lot of in-house work, they're going to divide up 3 or 4 people in a van with the person that'll take the van, and they'll go out and work in the community. And sounds like a really neat model, but unfortunately we can't find enough people at this time, which that seems to be everybody's problem. So they did do a little bit of an increase with salaries, so hopefully we'll be more competitive with the pay. But Brian's optimistic that they'll be able to get enough people to run that program, and it should be a good benefit to the community again. And then last night I had my MVAC Child Development meeting, and not a whole lot of new stuff going on there. They're getting winding things down for the end of the year and the graduations for all the child development, and trying to get kids reconnected and hooked back into the system for next fall already. As crazy as that sounds, but kind of just keep the thing rolling. And that is the end of my report.
I had one more thing.
You sure can, Commissioner.
This week is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Week, so I would ask people to, if they see a police officer or sheriff's deputy, a state patrol, that they tell them thank you for the work that they've done.
Oh,
I'd
thank
buy
you,
them a
Vance,
cup
for
of
that.
coffee too.
Buy them a cup of coffee if they drink coffee.
Yep.
Donuts are always good.
Yeah, well,
That's it's always nice to extend your thanks for all the work they do for us. Anything else for the good of the order this morning? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion? Stephanie, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Pat,
Aye.
Commissioner Peepo,
All right.
Commissioner Landcamer,
Aye.
Commissioner Struenberg,
Aye.
Chair Brunder.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you.
And look at there, 3 minutes.